Yo, what's up? Welcome back to Amigos. Here at Amigos, we want to talk about scripture, preaching, living life for Jesus in a deeper and richer way. And today I want to talk about joy. One of the things I've been thinking a lot about is creating joy in my life out of habit, out of ritual, out of liturgy. I don't know about you, but I spent 2025 and the ending part of 2024 spending a lot of time and money into therapy, into personal growth. And one of the things that I found out is I was living in a cycle of guilt and shame, which led me to a lot of negative habits, a lot of negative self-talk. And I searched for that because I was looking for joy in my life. And all of those things were stopping me from really enjoying joy and happiness and gladness in my life. And so I've spent about a year searching for this. And over the summer, I can say that I finally have gotten to a place where I could intake joy. And it has been a life-changing experience. And I've just been thinking constantly about this idea of joy. If you know anything about the Bible, then you have heard this verse, and it's out of Nehemiah 8:10. And usually it says, "The joy of the Lord is my strength." But I want to read it to you in the Message version from Eugene Peterson. And he says like this, he continued, "Go home and prepare feasts, holiday food and drink, and share it with those who don't have anything. This day is holy to God, but don't feel bad. The joy of God is your strength." And this idea to prepare a feast and to share it, the joy of the Lord is your strength. And if you know anything about the book of Nehemiah, Nehemiah was a government worker, and then he gets tasked with rebuilding the temple for God. And a part of the book of Nehemiah is that in the work of God, there's nothing sacred or nothing secular. What do I mean by that is normally we go, oh, pastors and priests, they're sacred. You work with your hands, you work at a donut shop, you are a skateboarder, you do these things, these are secular. And the book of Nehemiah is Nehemiah and Ezra coming together, one of them a priest, one of them a government worker, and rebuilding the temple, rebuilding the community, rebuilding the people back together. It has been crumbled, there's nothing to it. And then there are these words in this book: prepare a feast, the joy of the Lord is our strength. And I've just been thinking a lot about, I need strength. And if this is a verse that keeps coming up, Paul later on in the New Testament says, I pray that you understand the depth, the joy, the gladness, the love that is found in Jesus Christ. And I heard someone explain joy this way. It's like you're walking into a party where it looks like you don't know anybody. You get that social anxiety, but then you see somebody you know, a really close friend, a loved one, and you get that overwhelming feeling of, oh, I know someone here. That is what joy is. And in Nehemiah, we're seeing that the joy of the Lord is our strength, that God looks at us in an environment of social anxiety, of no one knowing us, of no one really seeing us, and we can look around and we see God and we go, we know someone and they fully accept us. And that is what God does. And so as I've been reading this verse, as I've been meditating on this verse a lot lately, I keep thinking about this idea of how can I have little feast in my life so that the joy of the Lord is my strength. I think it's kind of crazy that the way that this idea is introduced is by preparing a feast. And so I want to prepare a feast in my life so that I can lean into joy. I need joy in my life. I think joy is the one thing that I lack a lot in my life, which isn't it crazy that it's also one of the fruits of the Spirit? This seems to be a common theme in Scripture, is this idea about joy and fighting for joy and contending for joy. And so I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to fight for joy in my life so that the joy of the Lord will be my strength. St. Augustine says this: the joy that is not given by the world cannot be taken by the world. This is the joy that strengthens the soul. That's what I want. I need my soul to be strengthened. A lot of us can fake happiness. We can fake joy, But I'm talking about that when you take a deep breath, when you are by yourself, you can have joy. And this seems to be, according to Scripture, the place where we find strength, because obviously we know that joy comes from God. We can't muster it on our own, but we can build a little feast in our lives to have joy. Even so much so, isn't this what communion is? The sacrament is a feast of joy, is a feast with our King. It is a seat at the table. Even that in itself is God saying, take in my joy. I have prepared a feast before you. And I just can't stop thinking about this fighting for joy. So much so, I was talking to my brother last night, and let's see if it'll show up. But we talked about this. We want, me and my brother and our family, we want to be committed to being men of joy, peace, and creativity. And this is just what I've been thinking about lately. What do you think? Is joy easy for you? Is it hard for you? How can you in your life contend for joy? Have little feast so that you can prepare for joy. And that's what I want to rule my life. I don't want to live from a place of fear. I don't want to create from a place of fear, of a place of imperfection, but rather from a place of joy. I want to share with others from a place of joy. Making these videos, I want them to be from a place of joy. When I study the Scriptures, when I father, when I am a husband, when I serve others, when I'm around others, I want it to be from a place of joy, because it seems to me that, according to Scripture, that's where we find strength. That's just what I've been thinking about lately. Let me know what you think about joy. You find it hard? You find it easy? Let's figure out building joy together.